Good morning. My name is Joanne Cox, and welcome to Justified Jewel Podcast. It is always a pleasure to come to you, and the purpose of this podcast is to be authentic. It is to be authentic and to help you to be a better person, no matter what stage of life you are in. On this podcast, we like to delve into different guest type. Some guest type is all about our spirituality. Sometimes it's mental, sometimes it's health, and sometimes it's emotional well-being. I want you to make sure that you tune into other things that I'm connected to. Again, my podcast is Justified Jewel, and my website is www.justifieddjewel.com. I want you to also join me on Facebook, and it's called Today's Innovators. Now, we have a guest today that is one of my favorite today's innovators. And what we do on that is introduce people and their business as to what they would do. So on my website, you can see different blogs. You'll be able on Facebook to see this video in the many stages. But right now, my special guest for today is Asia Hennett. Asia, tell us something about yourself.
Yes, ma'am. I am 30. I'll be 32 this year. I've known Joanne for a long time, practically my whole life.
Yes.
I work in financial services industry. I have two small children. I have a 10-year-old and a 6-year-old. I've been doing the business I'm doing now for about a year and a half. Previously worked in property management. Prior to that, the restaurant industry for a few years there. And so I have done a lot of different management roles and now going into owning my own business.
Yes, and that says a lot about her. And so what I want to do is back up and let you know the people that I have on here, I know them very well. And Asia said practically all her life I've been knowing her. At that time, she was my neighbor and she was in kindergarten, or maybe she was actually 4. I don't know. But as she grew up, the first thing I said to her, you've got to take this Explorer test. I see you as a great leader. And you're going to be a person that cannot work for someone else. You're just managerial. That is who you are. And she touched lives. And so what I want to do is ask her a few questions because I know her very well. And I want you, the viewers, to understand that sometimes there's a seed planted in you and you need to know how to develop that seed or to accept that. So Asia, my first question to you is, when did you realize that you had that gift of persuading and influencing people?
I think whenever I started working in the restaurant industry is really when I noticed it. I know, upselling and that kind of thing, it's more of a sales strategy, but you can kind of tell whenever you are upselling or you're doing things like that, that you can kind of influence people, or you have the gift of the gab, I guess, to say, to be able to kind of talk. And so doing that, I noticed, and then I moved up, to management and the restaurant industry, went over to property management. And then that's when I could really tell there, with working with the maintenance staff, the different workers on the team, how they just kind of cling to me and how we work together so much as a team, but they would do more for me than they would for other folks. And then when I started to realize that, I thought, I do want to work my way up to management. I seem to be able to lead people in the right way and get the right responses. And I want to learn how to do that better.
Yes. And I think so many of us know that. And sometimes we simply don't accept it. And I'm so glad to know that Asia recognized that. And I believe that you start to recognize those things when you change positions. If you stay in one position too long, you won't actually know that it's you that's making this work. And with a person of background with leadership and good communication skills, I know that when you tend to look at others, that is when you really step out of that box. When you realize that, guess what? This is not happening for other people. This is something that I actually have inside of me. And now I want to ask Asia the next question. This is so important because when you have that gift to gab, when you are a good leader and a good communicator, you can get egotistical. How do you stay grounded so that you don't get to the big head?
Yeah, so I feel like I found that out in a few different stages of life, right? So I'm 31 years old. I'll be 32. I started running or managing the apartment complex. I was 24, years old. Majority of the folks that worked for me were older than me. Right.
Mhm.
And so that was a little bit of a challenge there. But I think going from a management position like that to learning it, I feel like a lot of times in the very beginning, you'll step back a little bit. You'll kind of let people overrun you a little bit, which keeps you a little humble in that area. But then I feel like, the longer you do it, then you almost have a point to prove. But what I noticed is I watched the folks around me and how their folks responded to them. And I
Mhm.
saw a bit of what I didn't want to do. I wanted to have a team that respected me, that I did for them and they did for me. And so I think being a giver,
Mhm.
leading by example, leading from the front line, but also doing for your folks selflessly, like you would in a marriage or, any type of personal relationship. It's the same thing in your workplace. You have to
Mhm.
be selfless with those folks. Obviously, there's a standard and there's things that you need to get done. But whenever you're consistently giving to folks, helping them out and, being there for them, but also holding them
Yes.
to that standard, I feel like it helps humble you too, because you're not just asking or taking or getting the big head. You're really doing the work, to give to them as well.
Yes, very well said. And I know for a fact that when you have a divine covering as well, and I don't want to leave that out because sometimes we don't
Yes.
even know that we have this covering. And there are times that we pick up from things of people what to do and what not to do. And we have to have those stages of falling down and understanding that through a superior being, whatever you choose in your life, that is actually got your back and is covering. That means that when you go through those stages of life and you make the many mistakes, you're going to grow from those and not ignore those things. You
Right.
have a household. And I remember a play that was called My Arms Are Too Short to Box with God. And it was a comical title, but at the same time, it meant that sometimes your grandparents, not your parents, grandparents and great grandparents have already prayed up and actually help you through this challenge. And that's
Oh,
why
yeah.
I know that you had a seed, because the average child uh, don't do the things that I know Asia did. And I just, without getting too personal, I just want to let you know that, she would take care of her little sister, and there's that age gap in between them. And she wanted the best for her. She wanted to do her hair. She wanted her to have the right friend. She would have that mother instinct. And it was like, girl, go somewhere and sit down. And then when it was time to do things that had nothing to do with maternal instincts, she would like pick up the phone and it was just like, oh, if we're going to sell our house, I need to call these people. And it's like, what child does that? And why would you even have that kind of instinct? So I'm saying these personal things about her because other people have these same skills and they take them for granted, Asia. And I just want people around you and people that are our viewers to know whatever you are doing that you think is just automatic, it is absolutely not. And how you can grow in this world and touch someone else is so important. And not just to build up. Asia is going to tell us in a few minutes more about what she's doing in her career. But the whole point of this is to connect to our audience, to let them know each one can help another person.
Oh,
So
yeah.
in your life, she mentioned the word relationships. And what we don't understand is all relationships come out to be the same thing. However, you're treating your family, however, you're treating your spouse, however, you're treating the people at church, however, you're treating the people at work, it all boils down to the same thing. You want to be seen, you want to be heard, and you want to be respected. This is what's going to come together in your workplace. This is what's going to help you to rise in the community and in yourself. How can you give out something that is not being poured into you? And my last question before you talk about your present position, tell me some of the things that you do that you pour into yourself so that you can actually have more to give.
Yeah, so that was a hard one. And I feel like you have to learn that balance. And I didn't learn that in the beginning. And so my previous career, I was a manager. Now I'm a coach, right?
Mhm.
I'm a coach, I'm a mentor, for the folks that I have in my agency under me. And so that has been a very big learning curve, right? I'm no longer managing folks. I don't have this rule book. Now I'm trying to coach them to run their business, right?
Mhm.
And be positive, but also help them work through the kinks and the growing pains. And so I feel like one, God, that has helped a lot, praying, keeping my relationship there, praying for the things that I need to pray for, but also self-awareness. Um,
Mm.
have to be very self-aware of your blind spots, right? And how do you know that your blind spots are there when they're blind, right? Well, I have a coach and I have a mentor, and she helps me work through those things. But I honestly feel working on me has been the best thing to feel me when I feel empty. Yes, going to church, but honestly, sitting back, reading a book, feeding myself, working on what I want to do that week, kind of writing everything out and knowing what I need to do and when I need to take a break. Sometimes you've got to take a break. Sometimes you've got a time
Mhm.
block. I'll have weeks that are so busy that I'm like, okay, I really have to time block so I can fit my kids in, I can fit me time in, but I'm still giving to my team also. So I think that is a really important thing because a lot of us will either take too much or not
Mhm.
enough.
Yes.
You don't feel full, but you take too much and you feel, like you can't take any more. So I think really just knowing that boundary, kind of helps. And then always working on yourself, you're going to help yourself grow that way.
Yes. Again, very well said. And I do know that some of the best companies that you can work for will feed you with positive quotes and positive meetings. And I think that means so much because the company realized that this is an input that needs to be taught daily, weekly, or monthly. And so whenever you invest in a career, understand that when a company is doing that, they believe in their people and they're wanting the people to succeed. And when their people succeed, it means the company is going to rise. So, with that being said, Asia, I want you to take it away and let us know about your company, how they can reach you, if they'd be interested in joining your company, and then you can lead it back to me. But we want to know more about your company.
Yeah. And, first I want to say exactly what you just said is a company that believes in you is going to feed you. Right. And that's not
Mhm.
just it. And so every morning, 8:30, we have a morning call.
Mm.
It's positive, it's quotes, it's working through objections. It's really anything that we need. But our leadership is so cultured in a family and just wanting the growth of folks that was something that
Oh.
really stood with me. But the company I work for, it's North American Senior Benefits. So it's kind of like you contract with that company. I do have a 1099 with them. So I own my own business, but I work through North American Senior Benefits.
Mhm.
So when someone asks me what I do, I tell them I'm in the financial services industry and I specialize in final expense for seniors. So long story short, in a nutshell, I sell life insurance. So what we do is, we go out and we help folks that really need life insurance. We specialize in seniors or folks that are 50 years of age or older that make $50,000 or less in income. So a lot of people that are on your disability, your social security, your fixed incomes.
Mhm.
We help those folks because they're the ones that truly need it the most. They're not getting very much, money on their fixed incomes, their disabilities, they're scraping to live. So they need life insurance. They don't want it to leave that line on their family and their friends. And so the need is definitely there. I feel like it's a very fulfilling job. A lot of times I'll go and I'll sit with folks and they have a life insurance policy. We'll review it and it's the wrong type. Um,
Mm.
it's going to terminate on them. It's going to get so expensive that they can't afford it, things like that. And, it, it's not a great feeling for them to find that at that time, but it is for me to know that I fixed that and that I
Mm.
made a with their kids or grandkids or whoever it is that they're actually going to have this coverage when that time comes, and not be left $10,000, $15,000 in debt trying to figure out how they're going to bury their mom. And so what we do is generally we work whatever areas that you want. I work a lot in the Fayetteville area here, but I have worked in Kentucky. I've worked in Ohio visiting friends and family. So it's flexible where you can kind of travel and move to where you want to go. Um, we have, like I said, an amazing team spread out all over the United States. So that doesn't matter where you are. As long as you're here in the United States, we will send someone to help you, train you, and get you started. We
Mhm.
look for coachable people and self-motivated people. So with that being, said, a 1099 job is you're your own boss. I might coach you, mentor you, train you, and help you along the process, but I don't fire you if you don't get up and go to work that day. What happens is hurt yourself in turn because you're not working consistently, and then you have no consistent income. And so that's where the difference is here is self-motivated and self-driven people, but coachable people. I can have somebody that can outwork anyone, but if they're not coachable, I don't want them part of my team. I want
Mhm.
someone that's going to know their blind spots like I do, that's going to want to know what they knew better like I do. So I look for people that are like me that I can duplicate. That have the same personality type as me, that have the same drive as me, but also, like you said, being humble part. My coach knows that she can tell me anything that she needs to tell me, and I'm going to listen to it and I'm going to change it because I trust her. I trust the process and I trust her, and I want her to tell me and make me aware of those blind spots so that I can do better. And that's what I look for whenever I bring somebody onto our team.
Okay. And as it's been said before, a great follower makes a great leader. And it continues to connect on and on. And the great part about this kind of position, whether it's her clients that she's signing on or her team players, she can reach you anywhere in America. And so for all the people that are looking at this that are interested, please get in contact with Asia. And if you're not, let other people know exactly what she's doing. Now, Asia, I heard a lot about that, but would you like them to reach out through me, or is there a contact that they can connect directly to you and say, I want to be a part of your team, or I want to
Yeah,
know more about the insurance?
yeah, definitely. So they could always email me.
Okay.
Um, My email is NASB, so North American Senior Benefits abbreviated, NASB.Asia, ASIA, Hinnant, HINNANT at gmail.com. So that's NASB.AsiaHinnant at gmail.com.
Okay, that wraps it up. And can you believe that's already been 15 to 20 minutes? And we've had another great guest that's here to help you become a better person and for you to be more knowledgeable. What you don't know, you don't know. And so we're here to lay it on the table and make sure that you know one more thing that could be beneficial to you or someone that you care about or someone that you just want to help that maybe you don't even know. So until next week, I will see you later. And to Asia, thank you for appearing and being on Justified Jewel podcast. And we'll see you next time. Bye bye.
Thanks.